Matt Vickers is the Conservative MP for Stockton South. Afternoon to you, Matt. Not a great look. Not a great look for an MP that represents a Leave constituency.
I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I think, both perspectives. I think it sums up the fact that some people are prepared to blame Brexit for anything.
Yeah.
They're so convinced by their own arguments, they will blame it for anything. But moreover, what an insult. What an insult. The majority of people in this country who voted for Brexit, we did so because we were thick.
Yeah.
But more importantly, the people in his own constituency, the majority of whom voted in the referendum to leave.
And also,
his own electors are thick.
Indeed. And I was just going to add to that, Matt. I mean, the fact that supermarket shelves in some places are not as full as they were, clearly not everywhere, there's many, many reasons for this right now. I mean, firstly, we're an island nation, so that has a big factor on trucks travelling. And the shortage of lorry drivers does exist in other countries as well. It's not just here. But the idea that the reason you can't get jam tarts in the co-op is because of Brexit is a nonsense.
It is. It's madness. I mean, you can't insult people into agreeing with you. You know what? They lost the debate. We've got on with the business and we're making a success of it. And to hark back to something that, well, it's gone. It's lost. But to insult his own, why does he know better than the majority of people in this country who voted to leave the EU? It's just not on.
It's very strange. You know what it's like, Matt, as an MP when your finger is tinkering over that retweet button. You might have had a couple of glasses of red of an evening and think to yourself, do I, don't I? I mean, it's a perilous position for parliamentarians to be in. Chris obviously had that third glass of wine maybe and pressed the button.
I mean, the people in this constituency, you know what, I might argue about their, their thought process in electing the guy, but I certainly wouldn't call them thick for their opinion on Brexit. And I mean, it's part of a wider problem, isn't it, about the inability to debate an issue on its own merits. If we talk, last week we were talking about immigration, we were talking about the Borders Bill, and the Labour Party categorised me, many other MPs. In fact, the hardworking men and women out there in this country who have an issue with people coming across the border, they don't want to talk about the issue. They just brand you as racist. It's the weakest sort of debate where you just brand the other person as thick, as racist, as whatever, rather than talk about the actual issue of the day.
Absolutely. And I thought we'd kind of left that behind, Matt, really. I can remember a time when that was a bit, the minute you raised the issue of immigration, somebody jumped on you, usually from the left, and said, well, that's because you don't like brown people or something horrendous like that. And it kind of went away for a bit, didn't it? We were allowed to discuss these things, and now we appear to have gone back to that very divisive way of talking about really important issues.
I think it just it shows about the fact that there's just a lack of depth in some of these characters. That's what they would rather do. They would rather assassinate people's character than actually. It probably means they've lost the debate. They've lost the argument in that they can't actually get around the table and talk about the issues. And actually, when we look at the Labour Party and we look at them jumping on things like this, they fail to understand what the nation's thinking about immigration and channel crossings. They fail to think. Well, they just haven't learnt the lessons from 2019. The people of Britain voted to leave the EU. The people of his own constituency voted to leave the EU, and he's branding them as thick now. They haven't learnt the lessons. They don't understand. And good luck to them if they think they're getting these red wall seats back anytime soon. Yeah, well, you're proof of how that can turn. It's a shame there's not a by-election in Rhondda, isn't it, in the next couple of weeks? Because that would be a rather interesting result based on this. that would be interesting. We'll see where they get with that.
Good man, Matt. Thank you, Matt Vickers, Conservative MP for Stockton South, joining us on Talk Radio. What was Bryant thinking of?